towards Texas. Where exactly are we, Gerald?
We're on US 70 going west.
US 70 going west. So here in Oklahoma, apparently they recently legalized marijuana, and every 100 feet there's a store that has a marijuana leaf on the sign, and lots of Indian casinos and marijuana stores. This seems to be what we're finding here in Oklahoma. What are we looking at here, Gerald?
I forgot the name of the lake. It's a big lake.
This is Lake Okiefenoki, named after the Okiefenoki Indians. It's very pretty. They killed off the Indians, but they kept their names on everything, and the ones that survived were punished by being put in land where oil would later be discovered and where they could build casinos and become billionaires. But there's also Bigfoots around here. We just crossed Boggy Creek, where the Academy Award winning film The Legend of Boggy Creek was filmed. So there's here in Oklahoma, there seems to be three things: marijuana, casinos, and Bigfoots. That's what I'm gonna take away from traveling through Oklahoma. We're coming back down towards Texas from Iowa after dropping off the first load of trash in my new residence, and then we're going to rent another U-Haul and take more stuff up, and then there are going to be a horde of movers coming to take the rest of the stuff tomorrow, but the stuff they take won't arrive back up there till the 8th or the 10th, so we got to get all the crucial, important things that are essential to life, like toothbrushes and Mad magazines and mattresses, have to go with us in this next 20-foot U-Haul trailer, and we're dragging behind in a trailer my Subaru, so that's what we're driving back in. So I was negligent in not filming anything while we were there the first trip, but there's too much going on. I'll film more the next time we're up. When we get up there tomorrow, we'll be hooking up the jukeboxes and putting the records back in and putting up the speakers and connecting a washer and dryer. And yesterday we figured out how the elevator worked. I should have filmed that. It was a little tricky.
Stay in the left lane.
It says stay in the left lane. There is only a left lane. Some people like these travelogue videos. There's the Lakeside Motel. Back in 1957, every single person that stayed in that motel had their heads severed and put on sticks. That was a very famous incident. Here's Bob's Lake Country Motel. That's Bob Barker, after he retired, opened that motel. Nice, pretty land out here. Quite amazing. You can complain about my camera work down below. There's a Phillips 66. Here in Oklahoma, they still have Sinclair gas stations with the big green dinosaur. I thought those... Oh, I know the dinosaurs are extinct, but I thought the gas station was extinct too. But apparently they still exist here in Oklahoma. We just had a very nutritious breakfast at IHOP, which used to be known as the International House of Pancakes.
Tornado damage.
Tornado damage. Yes, they have tornado. Look at this tornado damage. Shit.
That's from that storm. This is from that storm last 2 weeks ago.
This is from a storm 2 weeks ago. It heavily. Oh shit.
Oh, it tore the shit out of everything.
It tore the shit out of everything here. This is not where you want to live here in scenic Oklahoma, where the shit is torn out of everything. Hopefully not out of your body, because that's the worst way to get shit out of your body, having it torn out. It's better to poop it out.
It came up from over there. It missed the main part of the town.
Gerald's an expert on all tornadoes. He knows where every tornado lands in the United States and where it goes across what roads and where it ends. You often hear about Gerald here on this channel because he comes here every Friday night, but he's someone that you hear about but never see, kind of like Carlton the Doorman. What was that show with Carlton the Doorman? Was that Rhoda?
I don't know. Yeah, you probably heard Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore or something. There was some guy that it was Carlton the Doorman. He was an off-screen voice, and you never saw him. And Gerald's kind of like that. In fact, I don't think you've ever heard his voice.
In 1 mile, turn left onto State Highway 32.
I might film him fixing up the jukeboxes with his permission tomorrow, so he can do some tutorials for those of you that have jukeboxes. Also for me, because I'm not going to see Gerald as much because he lives way down in Texas, so hopefully he'll come up and visit once or twice a year, but I got to learn to work on my own machines or get people from Des Moines to come out and help. He's got to show me how to work this elevator too. It's not a typical elevator where you just press a button and it goes. It's more of a manual operated kind of deal. Well, these people seem to escape thank God the Family Dollar was not destroyed by the tornado, because that's a very important destination. Everyone loves Family Dollar. Gerald and I were talking about how the old 5 and dimes in the 60s and 70s were so nice, and now all people know are Family Dollars. And we were talking about the old Woolcos and Woolworths and TG&Y. What is it you called TG&Y?
Turtles, girdles, and yo-yos.
Turtles, girdles, and yo-yos. So TG&Y had turtles for sale? I think they had a fish section.
Yeah, I think they did.
I remember you'd go in and there'd be paperbacks. Man, I remember getting Star Trek paperbacks and Dennis the Menace paperbacks. I don't think they had comic books. They had model kits. I got my Mr. Spock model kit at TG&Y. I thought they were...
Turn left onto State Highway 32, turn right.
Turn left, then turn right, then do donuts in someone's yard. And then crash into a wall and die horribly.
That's about right.
Okay, look, pure wellness.
Turn right.
There's another one of these stupid...
In 4.2 miles, turn left onto South US 377.
Get the hell out of Arizona. Come here to Oklahoma, and you can have marijuana. It's like video stores, VHS stores used to be on every street corner back in the early 80s. That's the way marijuana is here in scenic Oklahoma. There's an idiot out mowing his lawn. Hope he's not running over any marijuana plants. Yeah, I don't know when they legalized marijuana. Here's some cows. They legalized those quite a while ago.
Town that had all that tore up back there was Kingston.
Kingston. And when did that tornado hit?
That was that one that hit out in Jacksboro. I'm trying to think of the other town. Bowie.
Oh.
It came this direction.
Yeah, I don't pay attention. I guess I didn't know. Is this a horse and buggy in front of us?
No. Some fool dropping trash.
Some fool dropping trash. Sometimes you see horse and buggies out here with the Amish. Maybe that's up further north. Uh-oh. Shit. Oklahoma, where the trash comes falling down the roads, where the waving wheat is so, so sweet. Okay, he's turning right to drop trash somewhere else.
Right.
What a scumbag. Pure filth, Biden supporter. Let's see what. Yeah. Awful human being. What is he doing to the earth? Creating a horrible carbon footprint by dropping trash everywhere. It's kind of like the beginning of Night of the Living Dead, isn't it? Except it's in color. There's someone living out here like a king, right? King of shit. Over here is some big containers filled with LSD that they feed into the water supply here. This is Buncombe Creek. Dumpster.
At the next stop sign, turn left.
No kidding.
How did you know? You just know this route so well, huh?
Oh, I've been up and down this road a lot.
At the stop sign, turn left onto South US 377.
Yeah.
Oh, look, you can get the fuck Joe Biden flags there. Oh, and let's go Brandon flags. Man, I wish I could. Well, maybe when we come back, are we coming back the same route?
Yep.
I'm gonna get some of those fuck Joe Biden flags. I'll need to bring some cash.
State line, 8 miles.
State line, 8 miles. We'll be moving into Texas. Then things magically change and it becomes less depressing. Literally, the sky changes. The grass is greener. There's no more marijuana dispensaries. Things get back to normal for normal non-hippie liberal vermin. a party on April 20th, like a housewarming party. If you live anywhere near Iowa, come visit. We've discovered, now that all the previous owner's stuff has been removed, that the garage, the 3-car garage plus workshops attached to it at this place we're moving to is big enough for a pretty respectable comic book convention. So if people could come from miles around and we could have a comic convention, we could even have a band play there. So it may be a new destination. I'm going to work with the Chamber of Commerce and the local historical organization. I'm going to get in with those people and stuff that they do and learn about the town. There's a museum next door to the house, an old railroad depot. The railroad no longer comes through, but I'm going to go over there and visit and befriend that guy, whoever runs it. And that's something I like to do because I love history. And so what else do you know about Oklahoma, Gerald?
I don't know. Mostly a lot of Indians.
Do you know anybody that lives here?
No. I haven't known anybody that lived here.
Gerald's originally from Missouri, and he moved in the early 80s to Texas. So he knows this route very well. And so he knows where all the Bigfoot live. Or do we call them Big Feet or Bigfoots? I don't know what the plural is. Or their pronouns. Or how they identify as man or woman. I don't know what a Bigfoot is. I'm not a biologist.
Ape man.
They're ape men. Or they could be ape women. Or they could be ape trans. We just don't know because we're not biologists like the learned people on the Supreme Court that have to be biologists to tell the difference between Raquel Welch and John Wayne. It's kind of hard to tell because they look so similar. They both have eyes and fingers. So how do you really tell a man from a woman? It's very difficult. I found that to be true. But not to be controversial here on the Gratu Orloff television program. We're never like that. Well, we got a new subscriber. We were at 333, which was some magical number, but now we're up to 334, which is great. Now we need to get to 335, possibly even to 340. And then it's up to 1,000, so I can start getting paid to do this shit. Yes, it's March the... What day is it? Do you know, Gerald?
I don't know. I forgot to look at the day.
I'm guessing it's the 27th. It's a Sunday. You can look at your own calendar. It's the year 2022, the year that Soylent Green takes place in. And we're probably already eating that shit. I think I just ate some human meat in my sandwich at Denny's, IHOP, whatever. Oh, I was talking about how IHOP is now called IHOP instead of the International House of Pancakes. And Burger King is now BK. And Dairy Queen is DK. And Kentucky Fried Chicken is KFC. All this moronic acronyms instead of the original names, the good names. It's like in the Martian Chronicles, when they land on Mars, the humans that land on Mars name everything after cities they lived in on Earth, kind of like when the settlers came over from Europe, they named everything after the places they lived in. So if they lived in York, this will be New York. If they lived in Jersey, England, this will just be New Jersey. New Mexico, they just throw new in front of it. Or they'll just name it the same name as where they came from, you know, because like Odessa, Texas, I thought, well, that's an original name, until we start hearing about the Ukraine on TV, and there's an Odessa over there, and I'm going, oh shit, people from over there in Odessa came here and they named that town after that. But yeah, Ray Bradbury in the Martian Chronicles talks about how one of the father of this family that's gradually turning into Martians, or the spirits of dead Martians are infesting his family and gradually turning them into Martians, which is a metaphor for immigration. When you move somewhere, you gradually become where the people that you've moved to, and his children start speaking this Martian language, not really realizing it, and start changing, and then the parents start changing. It's a wonderful metaphor. And the Ray Bradbury short story, Dark They Were and Golden Eyed. You should read that. They probably made you read it in junior high school. It seems like that was mandatory reading about 7th grade, at least in the Texas schools. Sometimes they actually let you read a good story in school. Ray Bradbury is one of the last good writers they sometimes let you read. So anyway, he was like regretting, naming on Mars, naming things the Washington Hills, the Jefferson Canal, instead of one. And he was wondering, what did the Martians that are long dead that used to live here when there used to be oceans, what did they name these hills and these mountains? Maybe we should use the old names. And then suddenly he knows what those names used to be through some kind of psychic power, or the ghost infesting him, whatever. Here's some water. You ever see water before? What is this, a body of water?
It's a lake. I forgot the name of the lake.
It's like fuck you up. Like fuck you up. The fuck you up Indians named this lake. This is where they would piss and shit. The fuck you up Indians. And this is the nice scenic bridge over fuck you up lake.
It might be Joe Pool. I'm not for sure.
Joe Pool Lake? I thought that's in Grand Prairie.
Not Joe Pool. I almost thought it may be Lake Texoma.
Lake Texoma or Joe Schmo Lake. We don't know. Joe Pilato Lake, the star of Day of the Dead.
It may be Texoma.
Lake Texoma sounds right because it's on the border of Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see as soon as there's a sign that says you're entering Texas, it's going to get greener and prettier. I think this might be it.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Texas.
It says, welcome to Texas. Where people are less subhuman. They should have put that on the sign.
But it should say, all Yankees go back.
Yeah, Yankees not welcome. They sell Confederate flags in the gas stations in Oklahoma. I haven't seen that in a long time. Since I was a kid, you used to be able to buy Confederate flags, but then they became verboten. Well, there's the price, $3.89 a gallon for those of you that are watching this in the future decades. I'm sure that YouTube or U-Haul or whatever this thing is called will be long gone before a few years for practicing propaganda and censorship, I'm sure. And rightly so, that someone will shut down U-Haul, YouTube, whatever, and turn it into something good or just completely destroy it. But there's the Faith Baptist Church. That looks very nice. We just passed a prison. Gerald had an interesting story about someone he knew that went to that prison. You probably don't want to tell that story, right? That's probably confidential, right?
I guess. I don't know. I would have to put his name to it.
Oh, no. Well, apparently some. Can I tell just without names?
Yeah, you can tell.
Apparently somebody that Gerald knew that he used to work in a TV radio repair shop. He worked with some scummy people or owners, and one of them, am I telling too much?
Well, you keep going.
And you stop me if I say, anyway, one of them, they broke into someone's house, right? Some mansion, and was it Texas? Oklahoma. And, the wife said, "You don't know who I am. My father's a very important person." It's like, and they said, "Oh, really? Well, we'll tie you up and we'll hold you for ransom." And it turned out that her father was the producer of of Apocalypse Now, Francis Ford Coppola, which I guess was a current movie at the time. Because I had to look it up. I knew Francis Ford Coppola directed Apocalypse Now, but I looked it up. He also produced it. So in other words, they must have kidnapped Francis Ford Coppola's daughter, and they were immediately caught and sent to this prison that has so much barbed wire on it. I'd never seen a fence with that much barbed wire. Anyway, scummy people. There's some horse statues. Yeah, people that hold people for ransom, I think they should never get out of prison. That's not a cool thing. Remember the billionaire's son? What was the billionaire's son back in the 70s where they cut his ear off and sent it back?
Oh, that was Frank Sinatra, wasn't it?
No, that wasn't Frank Sinatra.
Well, it was his son.
Well, Frank Sinatra's son was kidnapped by his friends. It was fake. Was it? What? I thought Dean Martin's son kidnapped Frank Sinatra's
son. Frank Sinatra Jr. He was held for ransom. They wanted his dad to pay a ransom. Anyway, they cut his finger off.
Oh no! But I thought there was some kind of fake scam with Dino De.
Continue on to FM 901.
If you look at film, if he shows, I've seen it where you see his hand. He's got a finger.
Well, there was some kid, I don't know if he was the son of Getty. It was maybe John Paul Getty. Anyway, his son was kidnapped and they cut his ear off and sent it back as proof that they had his son. It was horrible. I remember there's a lot of that shit going on. They kidnapped Patty Hearst and turned her into one of their cult members through the Stockholm Syndrome, and she was helping robbing banks.
Continue on to US 377.
Because they broke her mind and turned her into one of them. There's a lot of that shit in the 70s. One of those...
They also kidnapped, that was the guy who was a famous airplane.
In 9.2 miles, turn right onto Highway 82 West.
Famous what pilot?
The guy that crossed the Atlantic, the first to cross the Atlantic in the airplane.
Oh, Lindbergh. Yeah. They kidnapped Lindbergh's son, and they never found him, or they found him dead, right?
Yeah, I think they found him dead.
Yeah, that was the first real famous celebrity kidnapping, the Lindbergh baby. That was terrifying.
His granddaughter lives in Kansas City.
His granddaughter lives in Kansas City, huh? Yeah, Lindbergh, at least before the war, was a big Hitler sympathizer. So was Henry Ford. And Hitler had a framed picture of Henry Ford behind his desk. And then when you bought a Ford, Henry Ford would send you a magazine in the mail. You just got a free subscription for pretty much for life. And almost 60% of the magazine was all this racist stuff. But they don't talk about that anymore with the Ford Corporation. You didn't know that? Oh, he was Henry Ford was very anti-Semitic. And he basically would send things that sounded like they were written by Hitler to all the Ford owners throughout the United States.
Well, I knew he was a Nazi sympathizer, but I didn't know that part.
No, it was before the war. I mean, I don't know once the war started, he may have switched sides.
A lot of German vehicles had Ford motors in them.
Yeah. These big corporations exist beyond borders. They're not on anybody's side. They're making money off of everybody. Well, by this time next week, we should be in that place that we're moving to. And we may not have all our belongings there quite yet. The stuff they're picking up tomorrow won't be there till the 8th or 10th. And then if you live near there, you're welcome to come by and help us unbox. And there's a few mysterious people that are going to be coming to help us that are going to be surprises. Members of the comic book neighborhood. I call it the comic book neighborhood because community sounds so communistic. But I'm not the only one that's that way. I noticed that Gary from Nerdrotic also doesn't like to use comic book community. And then what is Comic Book Tom calls it the comic book fam. But my show's not going to be strictly comic books. I'm going to be getting into all kinds of pop culture with the show. I'm setting up basically a pop culture museum up there in Iowa that hopefully will be a tourist destination. It won't be open 7 days a week. It'll be open by invitation. And then maybe give some donation, whatever you think it's worth, 50 cents, probably not $50, but that would sure make my wife happy. So we won't have any rent. I'm not rent. What the fuck do you call it? We won't have a mortgage, so that's a good thing. We're paying less for it than what we left from, and we're tripling the square footage. Of course, things will come up that we have to repair, obviously, and but it's the price you pay for escaping from civilization, where who knows what's going to happen during Biden's administration. I mean, they seem to be doing every possible thing they can to destroy the country. Not to be political or anything. But look at those trees, man. Isn't that amazing? So we're in Texas now, right?
Oh yeah, we're coming up to Whitesboro.
What is it called?
Whitesboro.
Whitesboro. What is Whitesboro famous for?
I have no idea.
It's not famous for anything.
Well, it could have been at one time. I don't know. It's kind of a big town, not real huge.
I'm sure it was named after a gentleman named White.
Probably.
You can't make that excuse for the town named White Settlement.
Yeah.
They're a little embarrassed by the name of their town.
Well, they were the first white people.
Yeah.
Then all of us around there were Comanche.
Well, the school I used to teach at, I found an archive of their school newspapers, actual physical copies of their school newspapers going back to the mid-30s. And in the first one I found from 1935, a guy came to the auditorium to talk to the kids, and he was the first white baby to be born in Fort Worth. And he was an old man, and he had written a book. I'd love to find that book. And I just set my friend Forrest on that mission. He's a book dealer, and he can find rare books. He's the guy that's come on my show and shown those pulps a couple of times. I don't know. Anyway, so that's it's amazing when you think about how young this country is. It's not like we're living in Europe where you could live in a building that's 600, 700, 800 years old, maybe older. $469. Or is it 405? Well, this is how people live here up in extreme North Texas. So after Whitesboro, what's the next big giant city?
There's little towns between there, and then you're getting into Roanoke, Fort Worth.
Roanoke. Probably named after Roanoke, Virginia. I bet there was a Roanoke in England, and then they named Roanoke, Virginia after that. And then the people moved further west, and then they named Roanoke, Texas after that. And it's probably like 3 generations down that name. There's a nice little joint. Look at that, living up on a hill. That's kind of the life. Whitesboro, city limit, something.
At the next light, turn right.
At the next light, turn right. I wonder if
that takes you over to 35.
I wonder if that voice picks up on the camera. That would be funny. There's the Golden Chick. That was Auric Goldfinger from the James Bond novel and movie. He started off...
At the light, turn right onto Highway 82 West.
Before he started painting women gold and killing them, he used to paint chickens gold, and he had a chicken franchise, and that still exists. Then he later decided he was going to rob Fort Knox, but they still kept his restaurant going, the Golden Chick. So
turn right onto North Union Street, then turn right.
His millions is from the Golden Chick franchise, and then, hey shit, when is Better Call Saul gonna start? I think it might have already. Do you ever watch Better Call Saul, Gerald?
What?
Do you even know what that is?
What now?
Do you remember a TV show called...
In 13 miles, turn right onto FM 922.
Do you remember a TV show called Breaking Bad?
I've heard of, yeah.
It was a cool show. The heroes are actually villains, but you love them, ironically, but they're actually making drugs.
Oh.
It's like the school teacher that gets sick and depressed, and then he has a student that's like making drugs, and then he realizes he's a science teacher, he can do it even better, and he turns into this drug lord, and even intimidates the Mexican cartel, just a school teacher. And it was really good. And then there's this lawyer, the shady lawyer that he has, And anyway, it all ends horribly at the end, but then they decided, let's go back and do a prequel series and show how that shady lawyer, who was such an interesting character, started off as a, you know, kind of a sleazy but pretty nice guy with a girlfriend, and how over several seasons he turns into this criminal guy. And it's about to start its final season. And it's weird because it has several characters that used to be in Breaking Bad, and they're much older now, but they're playing themselves younger before that show. Does that make sense?
I don't think I know of the name.
But I mean, do you follow what I'm saying? They're older, playing themselves younger.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like that Mexican show where they have these old people playing little kids.
Oh yeah.
It's like anyway. So it's a great show. It's very well written and fun and scary and filled with action. But the new season's supposed to start soon. It's worth watching. I think it started with a political agenda, because I know the producer of Breaking Bad met with Obama and several other people from Hollywood, because what they were trying to do is push Obamacare. And the whole thing about Breaking Bad, the whole premise that caused this science teacher to go bad was that he found out he was sick and didn't have the money to help himself, because teachers get shitty insurance, you know. So he started becoming a drug manufacturer. So I think, I'm not knocking Breaking Bad because I love the show, but I think that political mindset was around behind its original creation, to make people realize that good people can go bad if the insurance companies fuck them around. And so therefore you should accept Obama's Obamacare, I think. And I could be completely wrong, but isn't just lovely? And I'll film when we get up to Iowa tomorrow, and you'll see that that's actually beautiful. This just isn't too much. They're growing a bunch of trees over here in pots. I don't know what they're going to become. So Gerald, you restore old cars, right?
Okay. But I have the money.
How many cars would you say you own?
I own three. I know I own three.
What? Well, I don't mean how many cars do you own that are currently operable, but how many, like, cars that you could, if you had the money, get to be operable. Like how many cars are on your lot of your house?
Yeah. Well, I have two 70 GTOs.
Two 1970 GTOs, right?
And I got 265 GTOs, but one's a junk.
265 GTOs, and one of them just for parts.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm trying to think.
There was a
64 Catalina 2+2.
Oh, that's the one you were talking about maybe selling me about 10 years ago.
Oh.
Is it still in about the same shape?
Yeah, I haven't really done nothing with it ever since I hurt my back.
Okay, so we're already up to about 5-6 cars.
Then I have a 75 Grand Prix, but it's a junker.
75 Grand Prix, but it's a junker.
Yeah.
How many GTOs do you have that are roadworthy?
Well, one I could license, and it's a 70 GTO Judge.
70 GTO Judge.
Yeah.
And doesn't your mom have a GTO also?
68 GTO convertible.
His mom has a 68 GTO convertible. His mom was a hot rodder when she was young, probably still, huh?
Well, yeah, she could. It's probably, and then I'm trying to think. My brother has a 68 GTO, or not a hard top.
Okay, so Gerald's brother has a 68 GTO hardtop.
Yeah. He has a 71 Le Mans convertible.
So how many cars? So basically, your yard, he lives out in the country. It looks like a drive-in movie theater, right?
Well, I guess, okay. Then I have a 74 Grand Am.
But if you point all these junked cars in the same direction and then install a wooden screen, it looks like a drive-in theater that maybe got hit by a nuclear blast.
Yeah, I probably could.
Wouldn't that be cool? So, Gerald has a lot of GTOs.
Pontiacs. Yeah.
Gerald's a Pontiac guy. And Gerald has been my friend for over, 10 years?
Probably about 10 or 11.
And he's saved my ass so many times. Like, I'll be freezing because my heater breaks, and he'll come over and fix that. He's fixed my cars a million times. He's every kind of thing. Like when I was a bachelor, and I was doomed that I had no money and I was freezing or whatever the hell was happening. Because Gerald has a van. He's about to get rid of the van.
Well, I don't know if I'll get rid of it, but...
Well, he doesn't get rid of anything, but his van is like Felix the Cat's magic bag, because I'll have a 1955 television that's not working, and Gerald will say, well, I think I have a tube for this in my van. And it's like, why do you have a 1955 tube in your van exactly? And it's like he has everything. It just seems like magically there where he can fix things. So anyway, you can fix anything from a 1948 radio to 50s TV to you can even fix some computer stuff, can't you?
Some, but I don't repair them. I can kind of hook them up.
I mean, Gerald...
I'm not really computer savvy, you might say. I'm on the edge.
Gerald's world kind of stopped about 1976. Is that about right?
Well, I would say...
Earlier?
Probably around, I would say the world really changed about 95.
Yeah, see, basically what happened is, like the little kid in the Twilight Zone, he willed the world to stop at a certain point. And only recently has he gotten a computer into his house, but he still doesn't have email. He wants to keep things the way they used to be. Your favorite band is The Ventures, right?
Yeah, The Ventures.
And now he's really into this new band from Canada called the Suffragettes, because The Ventures are all either like 85 or dead.
Yeah, there's only one left.
And now there's a new band called the Suffragettes that are like The Ventures, except they're blondes with long legs. So they're a little more attractive to look at than dead people or 90-year-old guys. So, but they don't come down to Texas. They're on tour and they've got a new album out. But yeah, look up the Suffragettes. So Gerald's really into surf music and
we like Dick Dale too.
And Dick Dale, yeah, I went and saw Dick Dale with Gerald about 10 years ago. So yeah, Gerald's a good friend, but that's going to be one of the rough things about moving to Iowa. Now, he's got some family in Kansas City, but not as much as he used to. But I'm hoping I can get Gerald up once or twice a year if I have to fly him up somehow or strap him on the top of an airplane to get him to come up for a week or so. But he's pretty busy. And he restores old stereos and stereo consoles at a stereo store. Do you want to mention the name of the store?
No, not on there. No.
Not on the air.
Yeah.
It's called Bob McWright's Super Stereo Center. That's not the real name. But so yeah, so he fixes all kinds of stereos. people are getting back into phonographs and records, and some younger people are realizing those old big giant consoles that their grandparents had have some pretty good sound coming out of them, because they're used to these tiny speakers where they send Bluetooth sound from Spotify to some tiny speaker. They get it Big Lots, and they think that's stereo sound, and then when they hear the sound coming out of a Magnavox Concert Grand, and it's like unbelievable. Or this mutual friend of ours that had these, what's that brand that's like the premier brand of stereo? Starts with a B.
They made older equipment too.
Yeah, the Macintosh.
Yeah.
Not the Apple computer Macintosh. It's an older company called Macintosh, and they make stereos, but they're tubes, and they still make the tube stuff. Rich people bought them, and they have giant speakers, and
those are
Bozak speakers. Well, anyway, this guy that has this setup, I was at his place one time, and he was playing some 45 RPM rockabilly record, and he said, listen, you're going to hear the sound of the Coke machine compressor kick on. And by God, you could hear it. And they were in a studio, and you weren't meant to hear that, because it was on a 45 RPM record meant to be played over the radio or on an RCA record changer. You weren't supposed to hear. They never dreamed that someday someone would invent technologies where you could hear anything that happened in the studio. And so stuff like that is neat. But people are getting back into the older technology, because despite what Klaus Schwab says about 10 years you'll own nothing and be happy, some people like to own things. And collecting records is becoming it's not a huge thing yet, but they're showing up now more in places like Target and Walmart. There's a record section that there hadn't been in. There hadn't been records in a Walmart since 1980.
It was in the 80s.
81 or something, when CDs came in. And CDs were really cool, but there was something different about them too. I mean, I like the fact that there was no static, or skips, but there still are skips in CDs.
Like Waylon Jennings has a song about CDs. Don't skip. Don't skip. Don't skip.
Yeah, nothing's perfect, but anyway, it's cool that things are going back to that there's some younger people that have taste. So how far are we from getting back into Gratouville, which is Arlington?
Well, Denton's 26 miles.
Denton's 26 miles. Denton is a cool college town. I don't go up there much, but I should, but I don't. There's a lot of cool signs over there that I'm sure I can't afford. Oh well. There's a train. I think we're going the same speed.
Yep, it's going to Fort Worth. This rail line follows along. They're going to Fort Worth.
What's the highway we're on again?
377.
377, which
is actually the road you used to get to Fort Worth if you came down 69.
So 377 goes, where does it start up north?
Oh, it goes way up into Oklahoma. And I think it goes up further than that. I think it goes up into Kansas.
So from Kansas down to Dallas, Fort Worth.
It might even be it could be up. You could go clear up to Nebraska. I'm not for sure.
It could go all the way up to Nebraska. Where does it end?
South Dakota.
Where's the southern end of this road?
I haven't really looked at that one. I know the one road that's called Memorial Highway. It goes to Mexico and Canada. That's 281.
Yeah, two places that Probably no one wants to go, but maybe. Let's see. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
My arm's getting hot over here.
Yeah, the sun's hitting your side of the
It's
car.
probably 80 degrees.
There's a temperature on the dash.
I'm trying to see it. It's 82.
82 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, I missed the big Pinball Convention this weekend in Dallas. Maybe some people will put footage of it up online.
Well, they probably could have one up in Des Moines or Kansas City.
Yeah, maybe. And then there's also the Pate Swap Meet that happens in April. I'll miss that.
Yeah.
But I haven't been there in a couple of years. I don't know if it's existed the last couple of years because of this wonderful bioweapon that's been spreading around, making us put on little masks.
Yeah, we're in
Denton County line. Denton County line is Denton's where a great store is called Recycled Books and Records. We've been there, haven't we?
It's around the square downtown.
It's a downtown square. There's Recycled Books and Records. It is fantastic. And then right next to it is where an old movie theater used to be, but it's now a lawyer's office. But in the 60s, they ran dirty movies there. Not XXX, because those weren't allowed until the early 70s, but as close as they could to that. You know, movies like Russ Meyer, Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, and nudist camp movies, all the stuff that Something Weird Videos puts out. And the guy that ran that old theater was named Johnny, and he moved out in the country and kept all his movie posters and trailers. And my friend Tom Renoni bought up a bunch of his old movie trailers for the dirty movies and regular movies like Viva Las Vegas, and then we all bought up as many of his movie posters. I think he sold all movie posters